The acting Chief Justice Antonio Carpio says the country has much to lose if it chooses to keep quiet on Beijing's ongoing reclamation of islands in the resource-rich waterway. Carpio believes it is time for the government to raise the decision of an arbitral tribunal on the maritime dispute with China. Our George Cahilas reports the issue now centers on the newly formed island Sandy Cay.
The Philippines could lose around 51,000 hectares of territorial sea now that China controls Sandy Cay in the South China Sea. 51,000 hectares is about thrice the size of Quezon City. Supreme Court Acting Chief Justice Antonio Carpio, in an interview with the source, says Sandy Cay is already an island dividing the waters around Pag-asa Island, which is controlled by the Philippines. Sandy Cay is a sandy reef around 2.5 miles away from Pag-asa Island in the West Philippine Sea.
It's very important because if we don't control, if we lose Sandy Cay, we lose 1/3 of the territorial sea of Pag-asa.
Right.
We lose Subi Reef.
Yeah.
And the tribunal said Subi Reef is part of our territorial sea. We lose that.
But for Foreign Affairs Secretary Alan Peter Cayetano, what's important is no one is building any structure on Sandy Cay as agreed by claimant countries in the maritime dispute over the area.
So ang sinigurado natin sa Sandy Cay, walang mag-build doon. So yung sinasabi niya is technically true but is actually sensationalized, no? To evoke na parang we're losing.
Cayetano insists the Philippines is slowly gaining from bilateral talks with China regarding their overlapping claims. He says Filipino fishermen can now fish in Scarborough Shoal except in the lagoon. And China promised to deal with members of the Chinese Coast Guard forcibly taking fish from Filipinos in Scarborough Shoal.
We've already raised it and it's already being dealt with. So ang assurance namin, may report kayo, kakasuhan nila at iproprosecute nila ang sinumang Coast Guard na apihin ang ating fishermen. And we're assuring them the same thing. Na iproprosecute natin ang kahit sinong Pilipino, maging pulis yan, militar, maging fisherman, kung may maaapi na ibang lahi.
While the Philippines maintains that Scarborough Shoal is part of the country, Cayetano says temporary agreements with China are necessary. These include the protection of the marine ecosystem in the South China Sea. With the destruction of coral reefs around Scarborough Shoal, Carpio says the Philippines must demand damages from China.
Since China is continuing to do it, we should go back to the tribunal
Again.
and demand damages now because that's what was missing in the first arbitration.
So ang trabaho namin initially sa DFA, gumawa ng agreement. So kung walang agreement, walang fishermen dyan. Ngayon na may agreement, ang second na trabaho natin, siguraduhin na 100% matupad yung agreement. That's why we're doing everything. We're talking to the fishermen, we're talking to the Chinese, we're talking to our Coast Guard. Our Coast Guard is talking to the Chinese Coast Guard. And I believe we can find a solution here.
Cayetano says the Philippine Coast Guard regularly patrols the waters around Scarborough Shoal, but did not elaborate.
So there are only two things we can do. Well, three. Prayer. No? And ako, I'm praying every day. And I'm praying hard na may miracle na mangyari dyan na ma-resolve yung South China Sea. Now, the two other things we can do is diplomatic or go to war.
The Philippine Coast Guard is set to meet with its Chinese counterpart next month to discuss issues concerning the disputed territories.
Inaresto ng mga otoridad ang suspect sa pagpatay sa isang hukom sa Camarines Sur. Binaril sa batok ang 49 na taong gulang na biktimang si Judge Ricky Begino noong Martes ng gabi sa bayan ng Presentasyon ng kanya umanong kapitbahay na si Wilfredo Armea. Agad dinakip ng pulisya si Armea. Tinitingnan ng mga otoridad kung posibleng sinisisi ng suspect ang biktima sa pagkawala ng kanyang lupang ari-arian mula sa isang pagtatalo na kinasasangkutan ng mga kamag-anak ng hukom. Si Begino ang ikalawang miyembro ng hudikatura na pinatay ngayong buwan. Noong June 4, isang buntis na prosecutor mula sa Office of the Ombudsman ang sinaksak at pinatay sa isang insidente ng pagnanakaw.
The dispute in the South China Sea has netizens weighing in on how the government deals with Beijing. This Twitter user says the Philippines cannot defend itself against the Chinese and can't even produce enough rice for everyone. He raises the question, ano na lang ang kaya nating gawin? This one simply puts it this way. The government is letting China steal everything that belongs to the Philippines. Meanwhile, former Pangasinan Representative Marco Wangco raises a suggestion when Supreme Court Acting Chief Justice Antonio Carpio said that the Philippines, China and Vietnam should have a fishing agreement in Scarborough Shoal. Wangco says officials should first determine the sustainability of the resources and allocate them accordingly among an equal number of boats from each of the claimant countries.
Itinanggi naman ni Pangulong Duterte ang umano'y persecution niya sa mga pari kasunod ng insidente ng mga pagpatay sa 3 clergy members. Narito po ang pahayag ng Pangulo.
Walang pari dito, no? Sabi nung nabasa ko sa stop persecuting priests. Wala naman akong sinabi. I did not. Yung yung pare namatay, meron kami. May binigay sa akin ang pulis. But sinupress ko. Kasi hindi maganda para sa Katoliko. Babae. Pariha kami ng isyu ng babae, ng pare ngayon, babae. Pinigilan ko kasi hindi maganda. But kung magsige sila daldal, bitawan ko yan. Masabihin ko, kung ikaw, pare, kabitin mo yung asawa ng sundalo, kabitin mo yung asawa ng mayor, mamamatay ka talaga. Yung sinupress ko yun, hindi ko pinalabas. But if these guys are keep on shouting there, ilalabas ko yung, alam mo yung pare, is no better than me. Yung mga pare dyan, tagdalawang asawa.
Contrary to Malacanang's pronouncements, the alleged harassment of Filipino fishermen in Scarborough Shoal appears to have become a practice more than isolated incidents. In a dialogue in Zambales, quite a number of fishermen reveal experiences of Chinese authorities taking their catch. But they also share differing views on how they're being treated. Our senior correspondent David Santos tells us more.
This cell phone video shows what's supposed to be a Chinese national picking from crates of fresh catch of Filipino fishermen. A few meters from the fishing boat, this photo shows a Chinese Coast Guard ship and its rubber boat. This fisherman says there is nothing much that they can do when this happens, and it happens regularly.
Sila ang bubukas sa stripon, sabihin mo na, no, ay wala, kung ano maganda ng isda, makita na hagis ng hagis yan sa banira.
Aside from the fact that the foreigners are armed, the fishermen could barely understand them. So every time the Chinese hop on their boats, they just let them be.
Galit talaga, kaya yung isda namin, araw-arawin ka. Buti kung 20 kami kabangka doon, di 20 rin banira ang makuha nila.
Siyempre, yung iba umiiyak eh. Ikaw ba naman manghuli para sa iyong suporta sa iyong pamilya tapos kuhain sa iba?
But it depends on whom you're talking to. In a dialogue in Zambales on Thursday, some fishermen don't seem to mind the Chinese are taking their catch.
Kinukuha nilang isda, hindi naman talaga marami at saka hindi naman panay. Mayroon din naman sila paminsan-minsan na binibigay. Hindi nga lang siguro sapat sa halaga noong kinukuha nila.
He even goes to say he welcomes the Chinese to his boat out of goodwill.
Hindi naman siguro masama yung ganun, parang pakikipagkaibigan na rin sa kanila.
And there have been instances, says this fisherman, the Chinese even came to their rescue.
Dahil sa agos, sumabit po yung saipon ng aming bangka. Ngayon, nabutasan po ng malaki. At doon ko na obserbahan din ng Chinese na tumutulong din sila sa amin.
And while there's now much talk about how the Chinese are treating Filipinos in Scarborough Shoal, some are asking, what about other foreign poachers?
Ito po ay kinabibilangan ng Vietnam.
Some fishermen can't help but draw comparison on the Chinese and Vietnamese who, like Filipinos, are all claimants to the disputed territory.
Yung barter, doon sa Vietnam, naniniwala ako sa barter kasi pag palitan namin ng isang banyera,
dalawang kabang tag 25 bigas, tubig. Tapos yung mga cook panikan, bibigay sila. Yan ang barter, pero sa China hindi naman. Yung minsan pa nga kami, inutusan pa kami manghuli ng pawikan.
All the officials present, including those from the armed forces, can do for now is listen to what the fishermen have to say.
It is through this venue na nakakakuha talaga kami ng updates, particularly on the situations at seas.
At the end of the day, what matters to these fishermen, they have enough catch to take to shore, sufficient enough to support their families.
Tinawag na coward o duwag ni Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte si Senador Antonio Trillanes. Yan ang bagong buwelta ng presidential daughter matapos tumanggi ang mambabatas na patulan ng mga patutsada niya sa isang Facebook post. Sabi pa ni Inday Sara sa caption ng post, quote, "I do not know why you became a soldier and a senator. Such a disgrace," end of quote. Nauna kasing sinabi ng senador na planong patakbuhin ni Pangulong Duterte ang kanyang anak na si Sara sa pagkasenador sa 2019 at kalaunan bilang presidente sa 2022. Sa isang Facebook post, sinabi ni Inday Sara kay Senador Trillanes na tigilan na niya ang panggugulo sa kanya. Banta pa ng nakababatang Duterte, sisiguraduhin daw niyang mamumulubi si Trillanes sakaling magdesisyon itong kalabanin siya. Dagdag pa ng Davao City Mayor, ibibigay niya ang kanyang slot sa 2019 election sa tatakbong senador ng oposisyon kung titigil na si Trillanes. At bago matapos ang kanyang post, sinabi pa ni Sara kay Trillanes na, quote, "President Duterte imagines you will be shot. On the other hand, I will make sure you are alive and in pain," end of quote.
Still no end to bad weather overnight, especially in the north. Conditions will be rough in the Batanes group of islands. Flood and landslide alerts are up on the islands due to moderate to occasional heavy rains. The area can also expect strong winds as a tropical depression outside of the country passes nearby. That cyclone will be named Esther once it enters the Philippines either tonight or tomorrow. Pag-asa says the tropical depression will only cut through the edge of the country. Possible flooding and landslides too for most other areas in Luzon. This is because of the southwest monsoon or habagat. Expect moderate to occasional heavy rains in Metro Manila, Ilocos, the Cordilleras, the Babuyan group of islands in the north, as well as Tarlac, Pampanga, Bulacan, Cavite, Batangas, Bataan, and Zambales. The rest of the Cagayan Valley, Central Luzon, Calabar Zone will have cloudy skies and some light to moderate rains. This is also because of the habagat. Bicol, the Visayas and Mindanao will have partly cloudy to cloudy skies with isolated rain showers.
Sasampahan naman ng mga reklamong kriminal at liable ni Presidential son Paulo Duterte si Senador Antonio Trillanes. Ayon sa dating Davao City Vice Mayor, kaugnay ang mga reklamo sa pagdawit sa kanya ni Trillanes sa 6.4 billion peso shabu shipment galing China. Sinabi ni Paulo, sinira ni Trillanes ang kanyang pangalan, reputasyon at integridad. Inakusahan niya rin ng senador ng pagkakalat ng mga kasinungalingan. Matatanda ang dumalo ang presidential son sa investigasyon ng Senado ukol sa shabu shipment noong nakaraang taon kung saan mariin niyang itinanggi ang mga paratang ni Trillanes.
Higher education officials have signed an agreement with various state universities and colleges and local universities for the implementation of a law providing free tuition and other miscellaneous fees. Cian Arcangel tells us what this means for the students.
Nate Dorrego will no longer pay tuition and other miscellaneous fees when he enrolls at the University of the Philippines, Diliman in July. A third-year film student, Dorrego is grateful for the savings because he needs money to produce films for his course.
Speaking as a film student, that money can go to things that are relevant to my studies, such as budget for equipment, for shoots, and those budgets for the shoots there, for the final product shoots there, are around 30 to 40K for maybe a 10-minute film. So thankfully, wala na yung tuition fee.
Dorrego is one of the estimated 1.3 million students who will benefit from the implementation of Republic Act 10931 or the Universal Access to Quality Tertiary Education Act. The law provides free tuition and other miscellaneous fees for students in state universities and colleges, technical vocational institutions, and local universities and colleges accredited by the Commission on Higher Education. Poor students can also study in private colleges and universities through a subsidy from the national government. Commission on Higher Education Officer in charge Prospero de Vera says they expect more of senior high school graduates to pursue college instead of working immediately because of the free tuition and public higher educational institutions. institutions. In 2017, 900,000 students benefited when the government set aside 8 billion pesos for free tuition.
In the past, about 50% of them proceed to higher education. We anticipate the percentage to increase because of the message of free tuition. We anticipate that those who dropped out of university for financial reasons may also intend to apply to university because it's now free.
But De Vera says the free tuition isn't a reason for public higher educational institutions to admit all students who apply with them. He says state and local universities and colleges need to limit the number of students by taking in only those who pass the admission tests.
SOOCs are not the only entry point for students to go to higher ed. It depends on the inclination of students. We are telling the SOOCs that those who do not qualify, guide them to go to the other SOOCs in the area who might have slots that are available. Anyway, admission tests are now free for all SOOCs and LOOCs.
De Vera also clarifies that while tuition and miscellaneous fees may be free in public higher educational institutions, students will need to pay other charges during enrollment, such as practicum fees.
What we are freeing are standard miscellaneous fees paid by all students, and the list is in the law.
De Vera says state and local universities and colleges can now access funds to reimburse free tuition as long as they submit proper documents to CHED.
Heads up for travelers, there's 100,000 new passport appointment slots opening today. Foreign Affairs Secretary Alan Peter Cayetano says the first 50,000 were opened at noon and the next 50,000 slots will be available at 9 this evening. The department also plans to open 10,000 additional slots Mondays to Saturdays at 12 noon and 9 p.m. That's on top of the over 300,000 appointments already booked from June to September this year. Other news, there seems to be more roadblocks to peace talks between the government and communist rebels. Presidential advisor in the peace process, Jesus Dureza, explains there is no enabling environment to resume the negotiations, and he adds further consultations with the public need to be done. He clarifies the government has not pulled out from the peace talks and that a final decision has yet to be made. Earlier reports stated the supposed peace talks in the Netherlands will resume later this month or in July.